All right, listen up, because this is the moment you stop playing small. You want to become the woman everyone fears losing? Then it's time to stop waiting for permission and start owning every inch of who you are. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm here to light a fire under you. You already know you were made for more. That whisper inside you, that's not doubt. That's your power trying to wake you up. So let's go. First, own your damn worth. You don't wait around hoping someone will notice how valuable you are. No, you walk into the room like you belong there, because you do. And if you don't feel it yet, you act like it until you do. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you decide on every single day. Second, emotional independence is non-negotiable. You can love someone with your whole heart, but your identity is not up for grabs. You don't crumble when they walk away. You don't beg to be chosen. You already chose yourself. And that energy, that's the kind of woman people fear losing, because she's not chasing, she's attracting. Third, you've got to master your standards, not just in relationships, but in life. How you talk to yourself, how you let others treat you, how you show up for your goals, that's all part of it. Stop negotiating with people who don't even meet your minimum. Raise the bar so high that only the real ones can reach it, the ones who see your magic and don't flinch. Fourth, you need to be obsessed with your growth, because the woman who is constantly evolving is unpredictable. She's unstoppable. She doesn't wait for life to hand her something, she builds it. Read the books, take the risks, cut the excuses. You want to be unforgettable? Become a force. There is nothing more dangerous than a woman who is becoming her next level. Fifth, protect your peace like your life depends on it, because it does. Drama, chaos, toxic energy, that's not your playground anymore. You don't attend every argument you're invited to. You don't explain your boundaries, you enforce them, because a woman in control of her peace is a woman in control of everything. Sixth, lead with heart, not fear. You're not cold, you're clear, you're not hard to love. You're just done settling. Being soft doesn't mean being weak. Be kind, but don't be a doormat. Be compassionate, but don't be naive. You can be fire and light. You can be fierce and gentle. That balance, it's rare, and it makes you unforgettable. And finally, your purpose is not up for debate. You were not born to be someone's afterthought or sidekick or maybe someday. You were born to be a force of nature. And when you step into that, when you start living like every day counts, people will notice. They will feel your presence when you walk into a room and miss it when you leave. You don't become the woman everyone fears losing by chance. You build her. One decision at a time, one boundary at a time, one act of self-respect at a time. So stop shrinking, stop waiting, stop doubting, start becoming. Because the world doesn't need another nice girl afraid of her own power. Let's talk about self-worth, the real kind. Not the surface level Instagram quote kind, but the unshakable, deeply rooted, soul level belief that you are enough, as you are, and worthy of the best this life has to offer. Because if you're going to become the kind of woman everyone fears losing, it all begins here. Self-worth isn't something you're given, and it's not something someone else can validate for you. It's something you claim, something you earn with every decision you make to choose yourself over your fears. There's a massive difference between confidence and self-worth. Confidence is how you present yourself to the world. Self-worth is what you believe about yourself when no one's watching. You can fake confidence. You can wear the right clothes, say the right things, post the polished photos, but self-worth, that can't be faked. It's in your energy. It's in the way you walk into a room and don't scan for approval. It's in how you don't over-explain yourself or beg to be chosen. You already know you are the prize. Here's the truth. People will treat you based on what you believe you deserve. If you accept crumbs, they'll never offer the full meal. If you keep shrinking so others feel more comfortable, they'll keep asking you to disappear. The woman who is feared losing isn't the one who chases. She's the one who stands still and knows that if someone truly sees her value, they'll match her energy. She's not afraid to be alone because she understands that loneliness in the presence of the wrong people is far worse than solitude in the presence of her own power. When you don't know your worth, you overcompensate, you people please, you hustle for approval, you settle for almost relationships, almost committed, almost good enough, almost loving, and you start to think that's all you're ever going to get. But when you know your worth, you stop auditioning for roles you've already outgrown. You walk away from anything that makes you feel like you have to prove your value. You stop asking, am I good enough for them? And you start asking, are they good enough for me? That shift, it's everything. Self-worth shows up in your boundaries. It shows up in how quickly you walk away when someone's words and actions don't align. It's not just about demanding respect from others. It's about giving it to yourself first. And when you respect yourself, your energy changes. You start saying no without guilt. You stop over-explaining your choices. You don't allow people to take advantage of your time, your kindness, or your presence. You become the kind of woman who is at peace with herself, and that peace is intimidating to people who benefit from your chaos. You want to know how someone truly sees themselves? Watch how they talk to themselves. Listen to the internal dialogue. A woman with high self-worth doesn't tear herself apart when she makes a mistake. She doesn't spiral into self-hate or cling to people who don't value her. She speaks to herself with grace and accountability. She understands she's still growing, but she never confuses growth with inadequacy. She knows that she can be a work in progress and still be worthy of love, respect, and abundance. You have to understand, your worth has never been up for debate, not since the day you were born. It isn't dependent on what you look like, how much you weigh, what job you have, or who loves you. It isn't tied to your past mistakes or the things you've survived. Your worth is constant, unchanging. But the moment you start acting like it, the world starts responding to you differently. You walk into rooms with different posture. You speak up when it's easier to stay quiet. You make decisions that align with your future, not your fears. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first. It feels lonely. It feels radical, especially if you've spent years building your identity around being agreeable, low minimo, or easy to please. But the truth is, the woman you're becoming doesn't owe anyone the watered-down version of herself. She's bold. She's clear. She's unapologetic about wanting more. Not because she's entitled, but because she's finally realized what she brings to the table. When you truly embody your worth, you become magnetic. You stop begging, chasing, or convincing. You attract because your energy says, I'm whole with or without you. And that kind of energy, that's rare. That's powerful. That's unforgettable. That's the woman who doesn't just turn heads, she shifts atmospheres. She's not everyone's cup of tea, but she's not meant to be. She's meant to be respected, remembered, and yes, feared losing. Emotional independence is the silent strength of a powerful woman. It's not about being cold, distant, or emotionally detached. It's about being whole on your own. It's the deep-rooted understanding that your happiness, your peace, and your identity do not depend on anyone else, and that makes you unstoppable. The woman who is emotionally independent isn't afraid to love deeply. She just doesn't love foolishly. She gives her heart, but she never gives away her sense of self in the process. When a woman is emotionally independent, she becomes dangerous in the most beautiful way. Why? Because no one controls her through fear of abandonment. No one manipulates her by withholding affection. No one plays games to make her question her worth. She doesn't need constant validation, attention, or reassurance to feel grounded. She gives herself what she used to beg from others: support, love, and respect. That kind of energy is rare, and when someone finds it, they feel it. They know that losing her wouldn't just be sad, it would be a loss of something extraordinary. Too often, people confuse attachment with love. They believe being needed is the same as being valued. But attachment is about fear. Fear of being alone, fear of losing someone, fear of not being enough without them. Emotional independence, on the other hand, is about love that's rooted in freedom. You don't need someone to complete you. You choose to share your already full life with them. And that choice, that's where your power lives, because when you stop needing, you start truly choosing. And people can feel when they're being chosen out of strength, not desperation. There's a calmness in the woman who knows she can survive heartbreak and still thrive. She doesn't cling to things that aren't working just to avoid being alone. She doesn't beg for closure or chase someone who's already made the decision to leave. She understands that rejection isn't a reflection of her value, it's redirection. And because she's emotionally independent, she doesn't fall apart when someone else walks away. She may hurt, yes. She may cry, but she never loses herself. That resilience, that groundedness, that's what makes her unforgettable. An emotionally independent woman does not define herself by her relationships. Her identity isn't tied to a title, girlfriend, wife, mother, partner. She loves deeply, but she never lets love become her only source of meaning. She cultivates a life that's rich and full outside of who she's dating or what others think of her. She builds dreams, friendships, passions, and goals that are hers and hers alone. And because of that, when she loves someone, it's not out of lack, it's from overflow. This kind of woman doesn't settle for relationships that require her to shrink. She's not afraid to be alone because solitude isn't scary when you actually like who you are. She doesn't stay in situations that drain her emotionally because she knows how to fill her own cup. She's no longer drawn to emotional chaos or the high of unhealthy attachment. Peace is her preference now. Consistency is her love language. And emotional stability is her standard, not a bonus. Emotional independence also gives her freedom to love without control. She doesn't try to fix, change, or rescue anyone. She lets people be who they are, and she observes. If someone aligns with her values and energy, she invites them in. If not, she releases them without resentment. Because she's not holding on from fear, she's choosing from wisdom. This kind of detachment isn't cold, it's clear. It's rooted in boundaries, not walls. It's guided by self-trust, not ego. Her emotional independence creates space for deep, real connection. She's not here to play games or manipulate. She communicates clearly. She says what she means. She doesn't need to be chased. And she doesn't need to test you to feel secure. She's not afraid of vulnerability because she knows her emotions are her responsibility. She owns them. She processes them. She doesn't project them onto others. That emotional maturity, that's rare. That's magnetic. That's what sets her apart. And here's what people don't always understand. Emotional independence doesn't mean she doesn't want love. It means she's willing to wait for the kind that doesn't cost her her peace. She knows she's capable of being loved without needing to be rescued. She's not impressed by grand gestures if they come with inconsistency. She doesn't crave intensity if it lacks emotional safety. She's not seduced by chaos disguised as passion. What she craves now is presence, depth. When a woman reaches this level of emotional strength, she becomes incredibly hard to replace. Because most people are used to codependency. They're used to relationships built on neediness, not genuine connection. So when someone encounters a woman who's grounded, centered, and whole on her own, they feel the shift. They sense that she's not afraid to walk away if she's not being valued. And that awareness creates a level of respect that runs deep. Not fear in the toxic sense, but fear in the sense of reverence. Because when you know someone doesn't need you, you realize you're there because they want you. And that kind of love, that's real. That's rare. That's the kind of woman everyone fears losing. Standards are not about being difficult or demanding. They're about being clear. When a woman has standards, she's not asking for too much. She's asking for what aligns with her worth. And that clarity, that's what sets her apart. Standards are not rules to control others. They are boundaries that protect your energy, your peace, and your value. A woman who holds her standards high isn't impossible to love. She's just impossible to play with. People will rise or fall to meet the standards you set. And if they won't rise, they'll fall away. That's not rejection, that's redirection. That's clarity doing its job. The moment you lower your standards out of fear of being alone, fear of losing someone, fear of being misunderstood, you begin to lose yourself. You start accepting less, tolerating more, and justifying behavior that doesn't feel right in your soul. And for what? To keep someone who was never meant to stay? The woman everyone fears losing is the one who refuses to settle. She doesn't make excuses for inconsistent effort. She doesn't hold on to relationships that feel like emotional negotiations. She doesn't romanticize potential. She pays attention to patterns, not promises. Because she knows that what you tolerate teaches people how to treat you. And she refuses to teach anyone that it's okay to give her less than she deserves. It's not about perfection. It's not about wanting a flawless partner, job, or life. It's about knowing your non-negotiables. It's about identifying what you need to feel safe, respected, inspired, and supported. And once you know what those are, you stop explaining them. You start embodying them. Because standards aren't just words, they're actions. They're not ultimatums, they're filters. They help you separate what's right for you from what's simply available. And yes, sometimes those standards will scare people away. Good, let them go. Because anyone who is intimidated by your boundaries, by your self-respect, by your desire for more, is someone who was planning to give you less. And you're not here for less. You're not here to teach someone how to love you while sacrificing yourself in the process. You're not here to be easy to be with at the cost of being true to yourself. A woman with standards doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, she doesn't shrink. She doesn't tolerate almost situations, almost consistent, almost available, almost committed, because almost is never enough. Almost keeps you stuck, almost keeps you questioning your worth. And she's done with that. She knows that clarity may cost her company, but confusion costs her peace. And peace is too expensive to gamble. Standards are what separate fleeting attention from lasting respect. They demand that someone show up, not just when it's convenient, not just when they feel like it, but consistently, honestly, and with intention. When a woman holds the line, she doesn't have to scream for love. She doesn't have to convince someone to stay. Her energy alone makes it clear: if you want access, bring respect. If you want her time, bring presence. If you want her heart, bring consistency. This doesn't just apply to relationships, it applies to every part of her life. The job she takes, the friendships she keeps, the boundaries she sets with family. She doesn't say yes out of guilt or obligation. She doesn't stretch herself thin to make everyone else comfortable. She's not afraid to be misunderstood if it means being in integrity with herself. Her no is sacred. Her time is sacred. Her energy is not up for grabs. And what people start to realize is that this kind of woman doesn't play by the usual rules. She's not impressed by attention if it comes without effort. She's not entertained by words without action. She doesn't fall for charm. She falls for character. She doesn't need perfection, but she demands effort. Because effort means you care. Effort means you're paying attention. Effort means you respect what she's offering. Her standards aren't meant to keep people out. They're meant to protect the space she's built. Space that's full of peace, purpose, and alignment. If you want to be part of that space, you have to bring something real, because she's done with pretending. She's done with overcompensating. She's done with lowering herself to meet people who won't rise. And that makes her unforgettable. Because in a world that tells women to be easygoing, low maintenance, and agreeable, she is bold enough to be clear. She is bold enough to require more. Not because she's trying to prove something, but because she finally understands she is something. Something rare, something powerful, something worth showing up for. And the moment you realize your standards are not walls, but invitations to rise, you become the woman no one ever wants to lose. Growth is not a phase, it's a lifestyle. The woman everyone fears losing is the one who is constantly evolving. She's addicted to becoming the next version of herself. She's not waiting for life to hand her the perfect opportunity or the right timing. She creates it. She reads, she learns, she challenges herself, and most importantly, she refuses to stay the same. Her identity isn't built on being who she was last year, last month, or even last week. She's always in motion, always reaching, always rising. There is something magnetic about a woman who is committed to her growth. You can feel it in the way she speaks. She's not focused on small talk or surface level validation. She wants depth. She craves alignment. She wants conversations that stretch her mind and people who inspire her soul. She is a student of life, and she never thinks she's too good to learn. That humility, paired with hunger, creates a fire in her that makes her She doesn't grow to impress others. She grows because she refuses to settle for a mediocre life. She knows there is more out there, and she knows she's meant for it. She's willing to be uncomfortable, to fail forward, to be the beginner if it means getting closer to her vision. While others stay stuck in old patterns, familiar relationships, and outdated mindsets, she breaks the cycle. She asks hard questions. She walks away from environments that don't challenge her. She lets go of people who feel safe but stagnant. Because she understands this, comfort is the enemy of growth, and she didn't come here to stay the same. You cannot replace a woman like that. She keeps leveling up, and when people try to come back into her life, they often find they no longer have access to her, not because she's bitter, but because she's simply not the same woman anymore. Her standards have changed. Her mindset has shifted. Her goals have expanded. And if you're not growing too, she's not waiting around. That energy is rare, and people feel the gap when they lose it. What makes her so powerful is that she holds herself accountable. She doesn't blame others for her situation. She doesn't sit around waiting to be saved. She takes full ownership of her life, her choices, her healing, her growth. She understands that no one is coming to fix her, and because of that, she becomes the kind of woman who fixes herself, who builds herself, who keeps showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. This woman surrounds herself with people who sharpen her, not dull her. She doesn't entertain shallow friendships or relationships that lack vision. She knows the power of proximity. Who you're around determines what you become. So she's intentional about her circle, about her mentors, about the conversations she allows into her space. She protects her energy because she knows that distractions are expensive, and she's got things to build, places to go, a version of herself to meet. She's not afraid to outgrow people. That doesn't mean she looks down on anyone. It just means she's no longer willing to play small to make others comfortable. She knows that her growth may intimidate those who are committed to staying the same, but she no longer shrinks to be liked. She understands that outgrowing someone is not a betrayal, it's a sign of evolution. She loves people from afar when necessary, but she refuses to dim her light to keep others from feeling insecure. Her focus is relentless. She doesn't let distractions pull her off track. She knows what she wants, and she moves toward it daily, not in giant leaps, but in consistent, disciplined steps. She's not always motivated, but she's committed. That's what separates her. She doesn't wait for the perfect mood to start. She understands that success is built in the boring, the routine, the uncomfortable. And while others get caught up in excuses, she's executing quietly, relentlessly, strategically. What people don't realize until it's too late is that a woman who is obsessed with her growth cannot be contained. You cannot hold her back with emotional games, half-effort, or inconsistency. You cannot offer her the same old story and expect her to stay. She will leave, not out of bitterness, but because she knows her journey requires more. She's not afraid to walk alone because she knows where she's becoming. And more importantly, she knows who she's becoming. And that's why she's feared losing, because people start to realize too late that they had access to someone rare. Someone who would have grown with them, built with them, elevated them, but they weren't ready. They didn't evolve, and she did, and now she's gone. Not because she wanted to leave, but because she refused to stay the same. A woman like that is unforgettable, not just because of who she is, but because of who she refuses to stop becoming. There's a certain kind of power in the woman who knows her purpose. She doesn't need external validation, she doesn't move to please the crowd, and she isn't swayed by fleeting opinions. Her path is clear because it comes from within. She's connected to something deeper than trends or pressure. She's guided by intention. And when you're guided by intention, everything changes. You no longer live on autopilot. You no longer wake up feeling lost or aimless. You rise with direction, with fire, with meaning. A woman with purpose isn't loud about it. Her presence alone speaks volumes. You can feel the focus in her steps. You can hear the certainty in her voice. There's no guessing what she stands for because she lives it. Every decision, every boundary, every yes and every no is rooted in alignment with that purpose. It's not about perfection. It's about clarity. She's not trying to do everything. She's doing the right thing. And that kind of clarity makes her unstoppable. She doesn't chase people. She attracts aligned connections. She doesn't audition for love or friendship because she knows her path will naturally reveal who belongs beside her. If you're walking with purpose, she'll notice. If you're standing still, caught up in distractions, she'll keep moving. No drama, no hate, just discipline, because she knows what happens when you let the wrong energies too close. They dilute your vision, and she's not available for anything that pulls her off course. Purpose gives her power because it anchors her. Life will shake you. People will disappoint you. Circumstances will change. But when you're rooted in something deeper, you bend, you don't break. A woman with purpose doesn't crumble when things don't go her way. She adapts. She recalibrates. She doesn't get stuck in the story of who she used to be or what didn't work out. She learns. She extracts the lesson, and she moves forward with even more precision. You can't manipulate a woman who's driven by something bigger than fear. She's not afraid to walk away, start over, or stand alone because she knows the vision in her spirit is worth the risk. She's not desperate for shortcuts or quick wins. She's building legacy. And that's not something you do by accident. It takes consistency. It takes self-awareness. It takes a deep commitment to self-honesty and daily alignment. It takes the courage to say, this is what I'm here for, and actually live like it. This kind of woman doesn't sit around waiting for opportunity. She creates it. She doesn't wait to be chosen. She chooses herself. She's willing to do the inner work most void because she understands this truth. When you are clear about who you are, you don't settle for anything that contradicts it. Purpose becomes your filter, your guide, your internal compass. And because she has that compass, she's not afraid of getting lost because she always knows how to find her way back. There's no energy more magnetic than someone who